Hello and welcome to the humble beginnings of my YouTube channel, which is brought to you from my Twitter page of Marvel Spank. Now, I've tried writing various scripts and that sort of thing for these in the past, and I got frankly bored with writing and the prospect of scripts. So if this turns out to be utter shit, then that's because I've basically decided to freestyle, and you're going to have to put up with that. Actually, you won't, you'll just turn it off and go to somebody that's a lot more worthy than I am of your time. Anyway, the reason why I am speaking to you today through the medium of YouTube is because we need to talk about the early reviews of Iron Fist, because they are a fucking load of lies. The Metascore on Rotten Tomatoes gave it 12 or 13% approval. 12 or 13%. That is saying, on some level, every part of this film was utter shit. The lighting, the direction, the screenplay, the hair, the makeup, the locations, the soundtrack, the original score, and the dialogue. Everything about this series is supposed to be awful, and it isn't. It isn't a fucking bad series. In actual fact, it's pretty good. My problem with this is there is obviously some sort of fictitious ulterior motive that has been put together by the general media at the beginning of this to give it such a collective bad score. And I'll put it to you that this collective bad score is nothing other than middle-class white people getting offended on somebody else's behalf. Yeah, I have got no problem in saying that. Nobody is actually offended by the story of a white man growing up in Asia and coming back and saving the world. Nobody, apart from people who want to get offended on somebody else's behalf, in case they do. Nobody's actually saying they're offended by this. A lot of people are saying other people might be offended, and that's a big problem. Because what is that? That is just a moan, it's just something to say, well, so fucking what? We can rightly at times praise other series. Jessica Jones was put in a position where it was, oh, it's great, isn't it? It's a woman dealing with her problems, and she's strong, but she's also fragile, and she's overcoming this in a turmoil to win out at the end of the day, like it's a real fucking person. It's a script and a character. The same with Luke Cage. It's a black man in a black series that's like The Wire, and everybody fucking loves it. This is the best one yet. Well, it wasn't, was it? No, it wasn't. It got to halfway through, and then the second half fell apart, because that is the example of the TV programme that's got bad pacing. And they even admit they got it wrong. It was ridiculous. Ridiculous. They put all the work into Cottonmouth, making you almost sympathise with him, like we did with the Kingpin in the original Daredevil series. And all that was undone with a twist that wasn't fucking necessary. But do you know why those two series and Jessica Jones, which also you could say had pacing problems, but nobody said that had pacing problems, because they were happy to go along with it because it was a woman as a protagonist, as in Luke Cage it was a black man as the protagonist. But this is a white man that's come from Asia to solve white problems. It is now a problem, and it's said to have pacing issues. Nobody says this about the HBO programs. Well, I say that a lot about Game of Thrones. Another day. Westworld was slow as fuck for the first 4 or 5 episodes. Like, I could conceivably have given in if it wasn't for my completist nature of wanting to see it through to the end. And obviously the rewards for doing that at the end of the series were tenfold. It was absolutely absolutely superb, and it made the payoff for all the other little bits of nuance that you picked up earlier in the season that then made sense. Now if you look on IMDb again, the 7, 8, 9, 10 and so forth are all currently rated over 9, whereas the initial 6 are pretty much, apart from I think episode 6, rated under 9. So I think it's very naive as reviewers to write it off as utter shit and irredeemable after six episodes, as they have done, when they know that there's more to come. If I can address the pacing issues, I turned it on and I was expecting it to be utter fucking shite. It wasn't. In the first episode, we set up all the main characters. We have a rough understanding of the types of people they are, about what their neuroses are, and about how they're probably going to play their part in the story. We have an understanding of the overall first arc of the programme, and we get introduced to Dan. There's also a little bit of misdirection and slight foolery when it comes to the plot. Now, they also criticise Finn Jones' acting in this, but I think it's not only stems from a lack of understanding of the source material. He is, in actual fact, very naive and callow, as he's been brought up in a monastery for the last 15 years and all of his adult life. He's been introduced into the big bad world, and the way he reacts to that is something like Will Ferrell in the first hour of Elf. Not that I'm completely happy with that comparison, but it seemed to work when I said it. There's also been criticised for there not being enough Kung Fu in this, being as it's supposed to be a Kung Fu series. Well, the first 4 episodes were all smattered with hand-to-hand combat, and I would say you probably don't go more than 15 or 20 minutes in those first 4 episodes without seeing some form of hand-to-hand combat. So as you can imagine, having watched the first 4 episodes, I'm slightly questioning what these reviewers actually saw. I would give it probably somewhere between a 6 and a 7. That's not to say that I don't rate it, but I consider a 5 to be the very beginnings of a good film. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 being perfection, which you can never give a film on its first viewing. It can only be a 10 probably after you've watched it 5 or 6 or 7 times. And then you know if it's got the longevity. So I would say this is probably sitting around a 7. And it will probably only get better and end up as an 8. I can't tell you that. I don't have a crystal ball. Although I could have probably anticipated that it wasn't going to be the heap of shit that all the reviewers previously said. Now, this is probably more of a cathartic experience for me, and you've just had me shouting at you through what is actually an upturned mobile phone recording this for YouTube as you are now watching it. So I apologise if you have now got a headache and need to probably bang your head against the wall to try and remove it. Nonetheless, it has been, as I said, a cathartic experience for me. I have a lot of problems to get off my chest, and if this kind of works, then I'll be coming back to you tomorrow with more from my personal life and how I was touched indiscriminately by an incestuous uncle as a child. Thank you very much for staying with me till the end. Good night and God bless.